Good morning. Hi. Welcome
Hi.
to our intake interview. And this is the beautiful Julie. Julie, how do I pronounce your last name?
Casno?
Hasno. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much Hi, Judy. Thank you so
Hi,
much.
Judy.
We love you, Judy, for for agreeing to be our next client, our next participant in Metamorphosis. I'm super grateful. Today, all we're gonna do, Julie. Now, is it gonna bother you? Hi, Kim. If I shorten your name to Jules because I
No.
have a tendency to shorten people's names. Okay, but I like I like to ask for permission because some people hate it.
Oh, no,
All
I don't
right, my
care.
love. Okay, cool. So let's dig in. Hey, Ruby. Hi, Rubes. Oh, miss you. If you don't mind, please share with me a little bit about what's going on, Miss Julie.
I'm just in a really strange place in my life. I just am not doing well with what's going on with COVID, and I am up, like upset for my son to not be in school, and I'm trying to figure things out for him and for myself, and uh, everything's just a hot mess.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I think that I think that there's a lot of people who can relate to that feeling. Um, but we're going to dig in a little bit more and find out what you mean specifically by a hot mess. How old is your son, babe?
14.
Same age as my daughter, eighth grade, huh?
He finished eighth grade. Well, he didn't actually finish eighth grade because of COVID, but
Yeah.
he is done and started his freshman year. But his freshman year has all been online, and we had to move from California, where we were, to Vegas. But he's still going to school in California. Uh, and I guess what we did is they just came back, so we rented a place so he could be in that school for the last couple months of the school year. And I guess what the school is really amazing, and I really would love for him to be able to stay there. I just don't know how we're gonna make California work.
Got it. Okay, yikes. So in the middle of last year, you guys moved to Vegas, and then recently, in the last couple of months, you've moved back to California.
Well, my husband and I switch out, so right now he's in California with my son, and I'm at the house in Vegas.
Oh man, so you guys are like almost telecommuting between California and Vegas.
Yeah.
Now, I noticed that your video has frozen, um, but um, for the just for the sake of continuing the flow, because I can still hear you fine. We're just gonna keep going. Is that okay with you, babe?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You look beautiful, frozen in your picture,
Yeah.
so.
I feel like a nightmare.
Oh, I bet. Okay, so that added a whole other level of stress, because now you and your hubby have to spend so much time apart.
Well, that actually lessens the stress.
Okay. Okay, was it getting really stressful? Like you guys were kind of at each other's throats a little bit?
Um, he
And you don't
is
have to share anything
happy.
you're comfortable with. Yeah.
He's happy with the lockdowns. I'm
Okay.
miserable because I was just like I'm a really negative person, and I spent like the year and a half before COVID hit trying to get out of that mindset and trying to focus on things that made me happy and things that were positive. And I was starting to really get somewhere with that, and then everything that made me happy just got stolen.
Ooh, I remember the gym being one of those things because I remember
Yes.
that's one of the things that really affected your mindset.
Yes. Because that's what I use to uh, I was in a lot of pain. I had a lot of physical and uh, problems like my back and stomach and headaches and can't sleep and all kinds of stuff like that. And oh, high blood pressure, overweight,
Oh,
obesity, the whole ball of yarn. And working out got my blood pressure down, took away my back pain. It just made me feel just I felt like I was 20 again. you know.
amazing. You look like you're 20. I can't believe you're not 20. Okay.
So
Um,
when that stopped, and I was living in the town I think you are, and
mhm.
they took the gym away, and it was raining that entire month of March. So
Yes.
I was jogging 20 miles a day in the rain, and it like it was awful.
Yeah, that's commitment right there. But that's not going to help your mood. Yeah.
No.
Okay. So let's talk about because you mentioned that you've always been a negative person. Um, is that something that you feel like has always been the case for you? Or do you remember a time when you weren't negative?
When I was a teenager, I had really big goals. I was going to be a fashion buyer, and I was going to travel to like Milan and Paris
Hmm.
and go to the fashion
Mhm.
shows and, you know, uh, have people respect me. And I was going to be a big wig in the fashion world. And that made me happy. I love wearing weird clothes and experimenting with patterns and fabrics and all kinds of stuff like that. But that uh, all went away when my boyfriend at the time didn't want me in New York City because I lived in New Jersey, and I was going to school at the Fashion Institute of Technology. And
Wow.
my boyfriend hated it. He's like, you can't be in the city, it's dangerous, you get da 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 da. And he nattered at me enough that I just gave it up, and I said, okay, I'm going to do something more serious. I'm going to have a bigger impact on the world. Fashion is stupid anyway. And
Wow.
I decided to become a lawyer, and I was going to be a Supreme Court justice, and I was going to change the world that way. That never happened. So
Whoa. Okay, tell me about your process of journeying into law, because I think that's really fascinating that someone with a soul that's as creative as yours would then move into a profession like law. Tell me what happened. Like, did you start school and studying, law at school, or what happened after that?
well, I finished my associate's degree at the Fashion Institute. And then I decided instead of continuing there to get my bachelor's, I was going to go to Rutgers and study political science. Then I was in New Jersey, so my boyfriend shut up, and and I felt like I wanted to help battered women because uh, I had been beaten up by one of my boyfriends, and I thought, um, like originally, I wanted to help women by making them look and feel better. Um,
Yes.
uh, you know, who had been battered, and like help them with fashion and hair and makeup and things like that. And then I said, oh, that's all stupid. I'm going to really help them. I'm going to become a lawyer, and then I'm going to be able to advocate for them and help them get out of, really bad situations. And uh, I went to law school, and I just realized that I hated everything about it. But when I went and talked to my
Yes.
mother, she was like, "You have to finish. You started law school. You have to finish. You're going to be stuck with these student loans, and you might as well be able to get a job that'll pay for them. Blah 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 blah." So I I sucked it up and stuck it out and finished. And then a friend of mine said, "You look terrible. Why don't you come out to California with me, and we'll start a computer company?" Um,
Yeah.
I just wanted to get the heck out of New York, New Jersey, away from my family and the boyfriend and everything, and just start over. So I went. And the computer company never happened. I ended up in working at a real estate company that turned into a computer job somehow. And then the person that I was out in California with met some girl, and she didn't like me, so he kicked me to the curb. And I got a little apartment, and then I was really worried about losing my other best friend. Uh, so we got married
Whoa. Okay. Why were you worried about losing your other best friend?
because this best friend found a girl and kicked me to the curb. There was nothing going on between us, but she just hated me for that,
Right.
for being in his
Wow,
life,
that's
and so
okay.
I got kicked to the curb.
Right. Okay. So you had two best friends, both of them men. One of them
Yes,
kicked you out. Were you living with him at the time?
yes.
Okay. So he met a girl, she was a bitch. And he said, okay, we're done as a friend. So he was a fucking terrible friend, by the way. And then that put you into fear of losing your other friend. So you married him.
hmm
Was he interested in you before?
uh, yeah, I was cute when I was younger, so a lot of guys
You're
were
still
interested.
fucking pretty, dude. What the fuck are you talking about? You're gorgeous. Okay. So anyway, so he'd always had a crush on you. He was in love with
Yeah,
you. He was trying to date you. Okay. Okay.
but
Got
I
it.
just thought of him as a friend, and then it was like, oh, I can't lose him. Like I just lost the other one.
Yeah, sure. Is that your husband?
Yes,
His name? Do you mind sharing? Is that okay? Or if you don't want to share, you don't have to.
it's Rob.
Alrighty.
And I feel like by doing that, I ruined his life.
Oh, ouch. Can you please tell me a little bit about that?
We met in law school, and he was like my best friend in law school. He's the reason that I got through law school because I really, really hated it. Um, but he is brilliant. He is like, he talked the professors under the table, and he loved it, and it was his passion, and he was like top of our class, and everybody wanted him in their study groups, and he was just the man. you know I mean, girls who were like, when we were like in our last year of law school, girls who were in their first year of law school would like come running up to him and be like, "Oh, Rob, you gotta help me with this thing." Oh, and it was to be like, my friend is a rock star. you know he
Mm-hmm.
he is just so brilliant. But I think it has to do with me. Is it just since he got out of law school, he just got these crummy jobs that paid nothing, took advantage of his knowledge, and then kicked him to the curb. So he went
Mm.
and on
And you think
purpose,
that's your fault?
yes,
Why?
because I made him move to California, and that's when all the trouble started. If I would have
Okay.
just not married him and let him take the job in New Jersey that he wanted to take, he'd have a nice, cushy government law job, and we wouldn't be in the financial situation that we're in now.
So what I'm hearing is you think that everything that's wrong with your situation in your life is fully your fault.
Yes.
No wonder that feels heavy, babe. I'm gonna guess, since I know a little bit about your background and I've spoken to Judy and you've spoken to Judy and you talked about September, I'm gonna guess that there's a narrative playing in your mind that says something like the world would be without me.
Yes. Every stinking day. And the only reason that I'm still here is because of my son.
I'm gonna also guess that since you agreed to work with me, that there's a part of you that doesn't want that belief to dominate your life.
Yes. I know
Sounds like you're just
when we
tired
were
of
in
being
that other
tired.
uh, thing, and you had us do
Boss?
this exercise
Yeah,
where we
yeah,
went up. I felt like you were saying look at your path or whatever. I felt like, what the coronavirus looks like, that picture of the white ball with the red spikes coming out of it. I felt like that, and then you said like cut them or blowtorch, the ties
yes,
that were keeping you. So
yes.
I did that, and as I went up, I just became the spikes fell off, and I was just this shiny, smooth, glowy white ball.
Mm.
And then when we had to come back down again, the red spikes came. They got attached to all sorts of things, and that's why I was like, "Oh, please don't make me come back." I just wanted
Sure,
to
you were
stay
like,
up
wait, wait,
there.
wait, 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 can I stay up here? Yeah, absolutely. And that's what you were saying. That's what you
Yeah.
meant when you said, as I came back down, everything attached back onto me again. Oh, that's fascinating. Okay. Because you are a being of pure light. There is, we'll go into it more, but yeah, okay, we will. Okay, red spikes reattached. There's a lot of different possibilities for that. We're going to work through some of the stuff. Okay. Wow. I'm so grateful for you to be so like real and raw with us because this is so tender. And I think that everybody, who's present with us right now can appreciate this is an incredibly tender part of you. It's raw, it's vulnerable, and that you are putting your trust in me means a great deal. I've had my eye on you, Julie. You don't know that necessarily, but I've been watching and I've been witnessing that you, Judy, and I even talked about this and why we thought you'd be a fantastic candidate for Metamorphosis is that you have, by yourself, you've already been making improvements. Um, like you've come such a long way since you've joined my personal community. So you've already begun this work, even if you don't know that you have. And we're just gonna put that on steroids and and
Well, that's
increase
what
it
I'm
and get
hoping.
it. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, let me just check and see if I've got any other questions for you right now. I have a fairly clear picture of the overarching thing of what's going on. I might have a couple more questions. Um, oh, can you tell me, did you experience abuse as you were being raised? Did you witness physical abuse? Did you experience like a psychological abuse?
There was
If you
no physical or any kind of abuse like that, but there was a crap ton of mental abuse.
okay, how did it show up?
um, uh, talking down to me, but I mean that was just kind of my family. They all just talked down to each other, and a lot of just leaving me places. You know, like I'd wait for hours after school to get picked up, or and this is a reason like I never wanted to come to Vegas is because my parents are gamblers. Literally, they would just put me in the hotel room and leave me there for like days.
When you were
They'd give
how
me
old?
money to go get food, or like one time they dumped me off at Circus and came back at like midnight or something like that.
When you were how old?
Um, it was like probably 8 to 10, 11. And then when I was 12, my mom started trying to dress me up and make me so that I could go to the casino with her. So, like trying to pretend I was 18 because that's what it was at the time.
And here you are back in Vegas. Wow. Must be
Yeah.
really triggering for you.
It's better now. I mean, I'm here, and after being in California during lockdown, it almost feels like a breath of fresh air.
Yep. Yeah, I can appreciate that. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. But what is going to happen is as you're driving around, all of those spontaneous memories are going to start coming up. And it's going to make you confront, your childhood and all of those neglectful experiences. Okay. So I'm going to also go out on a limb and say that there's probably another narrative that plays in your mind that sounds something like nobody wants me,
Mm-hmm.
um, a burden.
Yep.
Ouch. 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 That's so intense. It's so intense. Um, and a really, really heavy load to carry. Of course, from my perspective, I can see that none of it's true. But if this is the way that you were raised to believe, right? Like you were a child when you started being left, and may have read some of my personal story, but I can relate to that entirely. Like, there were many, many days after school I didn't know if my mom was going to pick me up or not. Sometime, and then after a while, when I was 8, 9 years old, I memorized the route to my grandparents' house, which was along a freeway, and I would spend a couple hours walking home walking to my grandparents' house along the freeway, because I just didn't know if she was coming or not, So I can relate so deeply with that experience. But when you're so young and you're treated as a burden, and like, oh my God, like we have to deal with this fucking kid, then that's, of
Yeah.
course, the narrative that's going to be deeply rooted in your mind. And the way that the brain works is that it makes itself right. So if you have that narrative, I'm a burden, your brain is going to magnetically attract to you situations that reconfirm over and over and over that idea that you're a burden, that idea that no one wants you. So it doesn't matter how many times someone says, I want you, I love you, don't leave me, don't leave this planet, you're not a burden. Your brain isn't going to hear that because you have way too many experiences to prove it right rather than wrong. Does
Right.
that make sense? Okay.
And
Okay.
that's what I'm would like to try and get rid of somehow.
That's what we're going to. Oh, that's absolutely what we're going to get rid of. We're going to get rid of a bunch of this shit, because you don't need to be dealing with this anymore. The fact that, as from a very young age, you wanted to make a difference means that you are here for something, and you even said, in class on Saturday, yes, you just want to help people. Like, you just want to help. Like, you just want to make a difference. You want your life to mean something. You want to do so. Actually, it's not even that. It's not even about ego. You don't even care about leaving a legacy. You just want to help make the world a better place. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that tells me that you came here to do that. And it's going to be really almost impossible for you to hear this right now, but I'm going to say it anyway because we're going to plant a little seed that we're going to come back and harvest later on. But everything that you've been through was to steel you so that when you do actually find the thing that you came here to do, you have a vast set of experiences to draw on. And I say that, and let me put it into context for you, okay? I always joke, and I'm serious, but I joke about it, that it's really difficult for someone who's never been overweight to teach people how to lose weight. You just don't get it. You don't get
Right.
it. Like you don't get the emotionality behind overeating, or you don't get that how difficult it is when you're in the moment of making the decision to not make a
Yes.
decision to eat healthily rather than eat the thing that you know is going to make you feel better. Like you can't understand the like low self-esteem that comes from not enjoying what you see in the mirror if you haven't ever been overweight. Like you haven't actually gone through the experiences that people who have been overweight have gone through. How can you possibly hope to understand how to support someone through emotionally through that journey, right?
Right.
So I feel the same way with healers. I feel the same way with people who are here to help people. If you've never gone through a dark night of the soul, how can you possibly support someone who's going through that? Like if you've never had the thought, I'm so fucking done with this world, I'm out, how can you possibly not judge someone who shows up and has that thought? Does that make sense? It's
Yes.
like, right? It's like you just don't have the context when you've never experienced it. It's like when someone who's never had kids tries to give advice to someone who has kids, and you're like, "Oh, you just don't understand." Like, no, having a dog is not the same as having a kid. Like, you just don't understand. Like, you're raising a little human. It's very, very different. So the reason that I say that is that when you find the thing, and it could be soon, it could be in a couple months, or it could be in a couple years, you're beginning a brand new journey. So you've been on a journey for a while. This is the beginning of a brand new one. And this one is the one to rehabilitation of your soul. So you already did the rehabilitation of your body. You've done a phenomenal job. Now you're on the path of the rehabilitation of your soul. Okay, um, so you're gonna be here. Like this is the new part of the journey. Okay. When you find that thing, even though it fucking sucked, you'll be so grateful for the experiences that you've had to draw on, so that when someone sits across from you and says to you, I think that no one wants me, you can say to them, oh man, I get it. That makes sense, babe.
Yes. But I'm getting old, so I'd like to find my thing.
No, you're not. You're not. Age is I mean, okay, so time is moving along. I can't pretend that that's not happening. But, okay, that's not, we'll go, yeah. Okay, so there's
I
an
saw
age.
the thing you did with your first metamorphosis client.
Yes,
And
Denise.
her she
Uh-huh.
had a little concern about age too, and
Yeah.
you said you're still here.
Yeah.
So it's like, all
Yes.
right, well, I'm still here, so there's that.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. You're like, okay, I'm here, I'm present, right? The you can be respected and only have a positive difference on 10 people, on 50 people. You can be a millionaire or a multimillionaire, be super wealthy, and walk into many, many rooms and no one knows who the fuck you are. Okay. Like you don't have to have the acclaim. You don't have to have the status. You don't have to have this vast community in order to make a positive difference. All you have to do is do what you came here to do. And that thing might be to inspire one, to help heal another, to help heal 10 people. And I'm not sure if you saw it. Oh, yeah, you heard about it. We have concrete steps to finding your purpose coming up next week, which will at least put you further along your path to finding out like why you're here. And in the meantime, you and I will clear out a bunch of this junk that's crowding your head so that it's not constantly like, because the problem with that junk when you're carrying it is you do have to constantly monitor it. You have to constantly push it aside. You're in constant conflict with it. You're fighting the whole time, right? So when we put the junk aside, then it actually frees up more of your mental energy, your psychic energy. Your psyche is more available for that creative flow, for that creation, for that creativity, so you can actually spend more time doing what it is that you love. Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, that was
Cool.
what I was trying to. That was what I was trying to do before COVID hit.
Right. Right. And then you were SOL. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what the shit do I do now? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So what I'm seeing, so here is our plan of action for you. And if you did see more than one of the sessions with Denise, you'll notice that it doesn't matter what we decide today. The brain, your own brain knows what you need to heal. So it's going to shift and change along the way. But here's what I'm witnessing, Miss Julie. So along with the limiting beliefs, which we're going to clear limiting beliefs, and that the number one ones would be the world would be a better place without me. I'm a burden. No one wants me. Those are the top things that came up today, right? Along with that, we are also going to tackle your tendency to put your soul's desires aside when other people express a disinterest in you following your soul's desires. That has been a repetitive pattern throughout your life. I do this, well, it's inconvenient. Not even it's hurting someone else. It's just moderately inconvenient for someone. Therefore, hi, Sarah. Therefore, I'm going to do something different, right? I'm going to swallow myself, my desires. I'm going to shove down what I want to do with my life in order not to be an inconvenience. So we're going to increase your ability to honor your soul's truth. First of all, okay, increase hearing soul's desires, and then a commitment. We're going to increase your commitment to honoring your soul desires. Okay. Ooh, Michael. Archangel Michael just showed up behind you. Yay. Hi, Michael.
Wait, what?
Archangel Michael is with you right now.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I know you don't know how important you are, but you'll have a slight more glimpse of it in a little while. I understand. And I also understand that you can't even receive that right now because of the limiting belief, no one wants me. So your brain won't be able to actually receive and take in that you have an importance, that you are valuable, until we clear out that limiting belief. So honoring soul's desires. It's even more like at this point, someone might say, well, it's boundaries. It's even more than boundaries. It's a firm commitment that your soul truth comes first above all else. Not from an ego standpoint, not from a need to be right, not from a need to be better than somebody else or worse than somebody else or whatever, just from my happiness is important and I'm going to protect my happiness at all costs because I am the only one that can. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
And then along the way, as the I Julie, you yourself are not a negative person. I know it's hard for you to consider that because you have lived with your thoughts for a long time. So it feels as if you are a negative person. You're not. You're a person who has been carrying so much trauma for such a long time that you don't know what it might feel like to not be weighed down by that trauma.
Right.
That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Everything you see filters through your trauma. So everything feels heavy. Everything feels fatalistic. I say by fatalistic, it feels like everything that happens feels like it's the end of the world, right? It's like, oh my God, because you're just so fucking tired. Your soul is tired, right? You just need some peace. You need some rejuvenation. Like you need to feel a little bit lighter. You need to feel like you don't have to carry this really heavy burden anymore. Does that make sense? Does some of this resonating with you?
When you were just saying that, I just remembered my son, like when this COVID first happened, I felt really heavy, and I was like, "Oh man, I am the like oldest soul that is around." And my son came up to me and he's like, "No, mom, you're a young soul." I was like, "Huh?"
He's so cute. Oh my gosh. Did he? Is he an
Yeah.
old soul?
I feel like just 100 years old, and
Yeah.
just really
Yeah.
heavy weight. Like I have just been around in pain for like eons and centuries, and that's why I said like
Ah,
I feel like this either came from a an ancestral thing or a past life
yes,
or
it
something
did.
like that because it
It,
just
ab-
feels like it's been going on forever.
it's
But my
old.
son
Yeah. It
saw something,
absolutely.
you
Yeah.
know.
Different. Yeah. Well, what your son is seeing is your lack of being taught coping mechanisms of how to deal with this burden. So he's seeing that and he made a judgment call. And I don't necessarily agree with him on that. But the ancestral piece, you're spot on with that. Do you know how I know it's ancestral? Because you got handed this to you from your family. They were like, you are not good enough. And you don't hand that down unless someone handed it to you. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Right? You're not good enough. So you told them that they weren't good enough because their parents gave it to them. Because their parents gave it to them. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to put that on the list. We're going to clear that ancestral burden that you've been carrying. No, you are not a new soul. But something very interesting. I'm just going to talk it through. At first, I thought maybe it was you haven't lived many lives on Earth. You came from more sensitive planets that weren't necessarily so heavy. Earth is one of the hottest planets to live on. It's got emotional torture, it's got physical tortures, it's got mental tortures, it's got spiritual tortures. It's like a very hard planet. And souls choose to come to Earth because that's where we get the most expansive evolution. This is where we get the most growth by going through these tortures. And what I find is those souls who have
Wonderful.
lived on, yeah, right? Fuck. I'm so fucked. But it's beautiful. It's a blessing because then we get to it's kind of like that desire that you're like, okay, I want to get to the growth faster so I can stop feeling like this. That's like from a soul perspective, that's why we come to earth. It's like, I'm so tired of feeling like a newbie. I want to like evolve, I want to ascend, I want to get to the higher levels. Okay, let's go to earth, let's do a couple rounds, let's do 100 rounds on earth, and then we'll come out as
No.
experts. Yeah. Right. You're like, I don't know if I'll come back here. Yeah. So what I find is that there's some really, really sensitive souls that come from other planets like the Pleiades and things like that, where there's not the same level, the same quantity, the same mass of energetic, physical, mental, spiritual hardships. And especially the psychological piece can be incredibly um, hurtful for a sensitive soul that's come from a planet where we just love and respect each other no matter what. Like it's incredibly challenging when we, when we planet hop and we end up on Earth, which is one of the least advanced. It's not the least advanced, but it's definitely, we're kind of like the toddlers of the universe. So it's hard to come from a more evolved planet spiritually to a less evolved planet, like physically. It's hard, it's rough. Um, but there's a purpose. There's a purpose. There's always a purpose. There's always a reason. But they're showing me that you've actually lived a couple of different lives. I'm seeing you as a priestess. I'm seeing you as like in a few different iterations. So it's not your first life. Um, and your
Yeah,
soul,
I feel like there was something else going on. I just don't know what.
yeah, and your soul has this like beautiful innate wisdom that that but very tender hearted. Very tender hearted, but your tender heart has been so trampled on that it's just like locked away, right? Um, which is why it was so hard
Yep.
for you to open your heart door. You're like, I don't know how to get this thing open. Like I should have a really long time ago. I lost
Exactly.
the key. Yeah. Yeah, totally. So that's another thing we're gonna do. We're gonna open your heart. Okay. All right, my
Yeah, I
love. So
couldn't
we've
do
got
that to save my life. I was like trying really hard and I just
yeah, yeah, that's all. You just need some like actual guidance and practical guidance through that. So we're gonna take care of that. Don't worry. Okay, so we start our first session next Friday. I'm so excited.
Okay.
Any other questions for me? I know very clearly what we're going to do for you. I'm going to give you the same advice as I gave Denise. Go get yourself some Epsom salts if you don't have some. And if you don't already have a journal, I'm going to recommend that you get a journal, and that's it. Just like rest, just take some downtime, just chill out for the next couple of days. Yeah, if you want to be in concrete steps, we've got that information, so you can do that class. It'll be great. And then yeah, and then I'll see you on Friday.
Okay. Just one other quick thing. You mentioned
Of course.
a journal, but again, I have trauma regarding journals too. So I
Do
I
you?
kept
Okay.
one when I was a teenager, and then one of my classmates got it and read it over the loudspeaker at school. And so since then, I was like, I'm not writing anything in a journal. So
What a dick. Are you kidding me? That's so
no.
shitty. Ugh.
So I don't know how to get over that because I know, my son is in counseling and they tell him to journal and he journals and gets a lot out of it, but I'm like paranoid.
Of course you are, babe. Of course you are. Okay, so um, we're not going to tiptoe around any traumas that you have. However, we also don't need to prematurely trigger a trauma before we've actually started healing and releasing some of it. So don't get a journal just yet. I may at some point say, hey, now's the time to go get your journal. Or you might decide, you know what? I am getting a journal. I'm still going to hide it in a very secret place because I don't want anyone to see my private thoughts. And you might decide to get one on your own. Okay, so we'll just see how the process goes. I have a feeling that you're going to need to write some stuff down in order to organize your thoughts and in order to stop probing into some deeper levels of your unconscious mind. When we write, the first page is conscious. After the first page, we're literally doing freehand writing from our unconscious mind. So it can be really, really um, illuminating to write some stuff. But yeah, no, don't get it this week. You're fine. And okay, anything else? If
Okay.
you have any questions, Jude's just, I mean, Joel's just connect with Judy. She's going to be your support person, like helping you through this process of working with me. And any other
She's been
questions?
awesome.
Oh, I love her. She's so great. Anything else, my love, before I let you go?
No, so 9 o'clock next Friday? When not
11.
this Friday, but the Friday after that.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
And that is 11 a.m. Oh, 11 a.m. next
11
Friday.
a.m. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank
Oh
you.
boy, you're so welcome. I'm really excited. We're gonna do really great work. All right, my
Okay, so now
darling.
what do I do?
Now I just end stream and you're good. And then you go off and you have
Oh,
a great
okay.
day.
You
Okay.
too.
Bye.